Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 46 of my F1 2016 Toro Rosso career mode, guys, where today we're here at the Malaysian Grand Prix, a track that it still doesn't feel right, that that it's at the tail end of the season, but after this, guys, we will have 5 more races to go to what I'm hoping is to try and hold on to P7 overall in the standings, but we've got 4 tracks that I really do not feel confident around, and I really feel this Toro Rosso will lacking. Brazil as well is in there, that I really do enjoy racing around Brazil, but Suzuka might actually be an alright track. But obviously, just all these tracks are really quite straight line speed orientated, especially Mexico coming up in round 49, guys. But here we are then at the Malaysian Grand Prix today, guys. As I said last time, we have moved up into P7 overall in the standings, which is kind of our championship aim, be the best of the rest, as I always say. Which is just slower than the Mercedes, Red Bulls and Ferraris. So we're currently in that position where, we just overtook Valtteri Bottas last time out at the Singapore Grand Prix, guys. If you guys have not checked that out, I would highly recommend doing so, and subscribing if you are new around here as well. But Renault have brought another upgrade to their car. As you can see, they are still low last overall in the standings, as we are near enough tied with my old team Sauber, and also Haas F1 are very, very close as well. But moving on then into free practice and onto my track acclimatization lap. And coming around the final corner, it was actually not a particularly perfect lap, guys. We made a few mistakes here and there, and coming up towards the line, we are only going to be able to get green there, and I just couldn't be able to string up another lap together, unfortunately, guys. But moving on then into my qualifying simulation, and as you can see, coming into the final corner, once again, we are on the green. I'm pretty certain this game, just come to think of it, doesn't actually have the track mapping, the final corner around this Malaysian circuit is now quite off camber there, but we do manage to go purple as well, as I'm talking about off-track camber and whatnot. But still, so we go purple there, so that's still going to be a lot of R&D points. Obviously, with the C-Star R&D, as I said last time out, guys, we will get a 25% bonus on all the R&D points we earn between now and the end of the season. And we're going to be at 676 points here, guys, which I'm pretty certain we started around, 270. So we've already got ourselves a free 100 bonus points moving into Season 2. So that's basically what I'm concentrating now. These final 6 races are basically just almost getting us prepared for Season 2, trying to get used to this car going into Season 2. But moving on then, straight into Q1, and we actually tried to get through Q1 on a set of the soft tyres here, but coming up towards the line, we are only going to move up into P6 there, behind Esteban Gutierrez, which by with 5 minutes left of the session, I wasn't really too sure whether we were going to be able to get into Q2 there, guys. But in the end, yes, we do. Lewis Hamilton took the provisional pole, if you will, by half a second over his teammate Nico Rosberg. And at this stage of the championship, guys, as I said last time, it was looking very, very strong for Lewis Hamilton, It's definitely more of a question of when he's going to win this World Championship, more than if at this point. But as we saw in 2007, guys, he may end up bottling it. Because see there, just before we skipped on, we were actually down in P14, just ahead of my teammate Esteban Gutierrez. But moving on then into Q2, and we actually tried getting through into Q3 on a set of the medium tyres, but that did not end up working out too well. So onto our set of soft tyres, we actually only managed to go there, guys, into P14. This Toro Rosso, especially with the setup that I had running, was really struggling. It was really strong in Sector 2, but it just really lacked straight line speed here, guys, which is kind of just basically the gripe I've had with this Toro Rosso since I moved here. So unfortunately that means, guys, that we have not made it in to Q3 of the session there. As you can see, the team just telling me, we don't have enough time to get around again, and we are unfortunately down in P14. We're still ahead of my teammate Daniel Kvyat though, and that's kind of, one of the big aims that we want to achieve. So we ended up skipping the session there, guys. Just having a look though, Lewis Hamilton gets into Q3 on a set of medium tyres there, ahead of his teammate Nico Rosberg on the set of softs. But apart from that, we saw both Red Bulls, both McLaren Hondas actually. Jensen Button having a very good day out in third. So we saw both Red Bulls, both McLaren Hondas, both Ferraris, both Mercedes and both Force Indias there, guys, making it into Q3 there. So only 5 teams actually making it to Q3. So we're starting to see almost like what we saw in Season 1 with the Force India, where it was basically just 5 teams every single time making it into Q3. But this is actually quite a rare occurrence for this career mode, with Romain Grosjean and Felipe Massa just missing out there. Neither Williams making it into Q3. Definitely not a good day out for them, as Valtteri Bottas didn't even make it into Q2 there. Because you see, both Toro Rossos, both Haas, a Williams and a Sauber, both the Massa and NASA crew, both didn't make it into Q3 there, guys. So that's going to mean we're going to start from P14 on the grid, ready for the Singapore Grand Prix. That was last time out, Matt. For the Malaysian Grand Prix.
Fernando Alonso sat at the front of the grid here over a decade ago now. The first flash flash of greatness in a race that also gave us the maiden win for Kimi Raikkonen. The Malaysian Grand Prix is an event for gifted racers to climb to the top, and for those on the sidelines to find new talents. 5 lefts and 10 rights make up the 15 corners of Sepang's 3.4-mile circuit, a track where the weather always threatens to play a deciding factor. The drivers will be subjected to forces in excess of 4G in heavy braking zones in 4 of these corners, 2 of which come at the end of DRS zones into turn 1 and to turn 15. And alongside me today to talk you through all that is Anthony Davidson. And welcome again. It's good to be back in Kuala Lumpur, isn't it? A lovely country, Malaysia, lovely circuit, and a race that tends to be quite hard to predict.
Yeah, it does indeed. There are a lot of high-energy corners that make the rear tyres suffer around here. Coupled with the excessive heat, that makes it difficult to keep your tyres in the right operating window. And of course, in previous years, we've come here very early in the season, which throws a potential reliability variable in there as well.
Everyone's noticed that you've been leading this team recently. A couple more good results, and you'll be the number 1.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Nico Rosberg will start his silver arrow from pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Raikkonen, Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo, and Hamilton, Button, Hülkenberg, Alonso, and Sergio Perez, Grosjean, Massa, Esteban Gutierrez, and a Toro Rosso, Kvyat, Nasser, Marcus Ericsson, and Valtteri Bottas, Harry Anto, and Wehrlein, Kevin Magnussen, and Jolyon Palmer rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So here we are then, guys, at the starting grid for the Malaysian Grand Prix. Not as bad a starting place as we started last time out at the Singapore Grand Prix, guys. Just having a look at the race strategy, though. Obviously, it's going to be a one-stop race here today. And I'm actually going to try and swap over the hards and the soft tyres here. But the game just decides it doesn't really want to opt for that strategy. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to program in a second stop. Obviously, we won't be making that second stop, guys. We will just be going from the set of hards to the set of soft tyres right to the very end. From hoping, sort of lap 7, lap 8, I'm thinking. Obviously, we want to go just over half race distance on a set of the harder tyres there. But P14 on the grid, ready for the Grand Prix today, It's going to be a bit of an interesting one, hoping we can get more points, like we saw, obviously, from Singapore last time out. Although, obviously, we got a bit lucky with the strategy, guys. 22nd to 6th is still very, very good. We had to defend our position a lot during the second half of the Grand Prix here today. But let's move on then. Obviously, we've got the Haas of Esteban Gutierrez right next to me. Maybe we might be able to jump him into turn 1 here. But skipping the formation lap, guys. Let's move on then into the Malaysian Grand Prix. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And away we go for the Malaysian Grand Prix. There's see Romain Grosjean gets an absolutely terrible start, which bogs down his teammate Gutierrez after Gutierrez had cat-like reactions there. Coming to turn 1, there's to see the Sauber right behind me there, nearly crashing into the back of me there. We're just going to try and keep it clean on the inside into turn 1 here, guys. Are we going to be able to hold it on the inside right behind Fernando Alonso? We're now going to have to look around the outside into turn 2 there, and we've made a bit of contact with the Haas of Gutierrez now, and he is now facing the wrong way there, guys, which is definitely not what he wanted. But yellow flags are now out. Now they change back to green, and now the safety car has been deployed there, which means we've accidentally jumped both Sergio Perez and Felipe Massa. But the safety car decides, Charlie Whiten decides, I'm keeping that position on Sergio Perez there, guys. So I'm not really going to complain about that. So P11 now, ready for the safety car restart, guys. It's actually going to be boosted up into P10 by the end of the safety car, as obviously one of the drivers decided they'd opt to go into the pits. I think they might have actually gone onto a set of the hard tyres right to the very end of the Grand Prix. But Felipe Massa right ahead of me, hoping we can jump him, as Fernando Alonso is going to peel straight away into the pit lane. We're going to look up the inside of Massa as he completely compromises my run. Romain Grosjean has had to retire due to an engine failure. See him pulling off to the right hand side there as we come down the front straight. But a few more drivers have peeled off into the pit lane as well, which puts me up into P6. But we've got a lot of pressure from my teammate Daniel Kvyat just behind me here. Not very often, we get pressurised by my teammate here. But hopefully, we should be able to defend from him, as he's got a lot better straight line speed setup and obviously the quicker tyres here at this moment in the Grand Prix. But let's move on then to the end of lap 5 here. As you see, a lot of drivers have opted to come into the pit lane here, which is going to mean we inherit the lead of the Grand Prix. Also set the fastest lap, just add to it there, and hoping we can try and push towards the end of our stint here on lap 8. We've actually now dived into the pit lane here, hoping to know that we can come out, still in the top 10 maybe, if we're a bit optimistic, but just getting the brake in near enough perfectly there. There's no really ideal reference point there as you come into the pit lane, but the manners of Haryanto and Verline had also decided they'd go on the set of hard tyres to begin the race, and they have jumped me as well there, guys. Well, obviously they're just coming out of the pit lane, but coming out of the pit lane then, guys, we are down, unfortunately, into P14 here. So it's definitely not looking like that pit strategy has worked out for us right now. But we have obviously got the much quicker car now with the much quicker tyres. And hopefully, we should be able to jump a few more AI. And hopefully, get back up into the top 10 of the Grand Prix. As you can see, moving on straight away then, we're right behind the McLaren Hondas. They're actually fighting as they come into the final corner here. Obviously, the only car that really, I think, has about the same sort of power as myself. So coming down this front straight, guys, with the slipstream, with the DRS, as Daniel Ricciardo goes purple, are we going to be able to jump the McLarens? We're going to have the slipstream from both of them here. We're going to look 3 wide into turn 1 there. Are we going to be able to go at the inside? We go at the inside of Fernando Alonso as Jenson Button is the winner of the late breaks there. Just about skimming his rear end there. But now we have to hold it around the outside of Alonso. But we've made contact with yet another driver there, guys. Fernando Alonso, we just didn't give him the room on the inside. So he is now facing the wrong way. But now we're right behind Jenson Button coming into the fast S section. Are we going to be able to hold it around the outside? We have a little think about it there, but not going to be able to do that. It's going to be a very, very ridiculous move if we're able to pull it off. But we now get the slipstream, get the toe, move up the inside into the double right-hander of turn 7 and turn 8 there. And we move up into P10 now of the Grand Prix, as a couple more drivers have also made their pit stops. So now we're in the points, guys, and, hoping we may be able to catch Kimi Räikkönen by the end of this Grand Prix here today. But he's quite far up the road here. As you can see, 6 seconds up the road is going to be a very, very tall objective that we might not be able to achieve. But there's a few more AI that have come into the pit lane of Jolie and Palmer, and I think it might also be Sergio Perez or one of the Manners here, guys. And we now move back up into P7 of the Grand Prix as Jenson Button looking at my inside into turn 1. He's not going to be able to make that move stick, as we managed to hold it around the outside through turn 1, which leads to the inside for turn 2 there, guys. And we hold on to P7 in the Grand Prix. A lot of debris there as well, I may add, on the exit of turn 1 there. Not really too sure what that's happened there. But now, as you can see, moving on to lap 13, we've been able to pull up a little bit of a gap from Jenson Button. So, just hoping that we will be able to hold on to this P7. Another valuable 6 points for our championship standings. You see, we run a little bit wide there into the horrible double apex right-hander, if you will. And we're just a bit wide there, and Jenson Button's actually hit the back of me there, guys. And we're now both basically being faced into the wall. Jenson hits me another couple of times there, and now we've made contact once again. I've completely ripped his wheel off there, guys. That was such a small amount of contact there, and Jenson Button is out of the race, and we've been given a 5-second stop-go penalty there, guys. No idea why that's happening. Jenson just didn't back out into the corner there, as you can see. He just had to back out there, but now Jenson's out of the race, and we're now going to have to make another pit stop here, obviously, as we've got this 5-second penalty. Coming to the pit lane here, guys, we're going to have to move on to a set of the soft tyres. I didn't want to risk disqualification, if the penalty was not going to be able to count there, obviously, at the end of the Grand Prix, because that's obviously what you can do now. You can use your 5-second stop-go penalty at the end of the race, but I wasn't trusting this game. It's not perfect. There are still a few little glitches here and there, guys. But coming into the pits, then the team are obviously not going to be able to work for the first 5 seconds here of this pit lane. But here they go to work, obviously, onto another set of soft tyres for this final lap of the Grand Prix here, guys. We're going to come out of the pit lane. I think it's going to be down in sort of P14, P15. There's this huge little train of back markers here down into P15. Are we going to lose any more positions here into turn 1? We have to go very, very defensive on the manner of the Renault, of Kevin Magnussen there. And we hold on to P15 here. It's going to hopefully be, P12 just in a couple of quarters. We've got quite a few AI, right just ahead of me, basically backmarker cars apart from Nico Hülkenberg here, who's just not a very quick driver myself. But as you can see, moving on then into the final corner on the end of lap 14. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make as many decisions as we wanted. Nico Rosberg is going to win the Grand Prix though, guys, but obviously Lewis Hamilton, if he gets a good points position here, should still be absolute miles ahead overall in the championship there, guys. But P13, just such a disappointing result there, guys, at the very end of the Grand Prix, Really wanted to hope better, after obviously that basically bullshit penalty right at the very end there, guys. Unfortunately meant that our race was basically ruined there in the end, but P13 was all we could muster from the Grand Prix, guys. I'm going to leave you guys with the point standings there from that Grand Prix. I hope you guys have enjoyed this race. A bit of a frustrating one, if I won't lie there, guys, in the end. But as I said, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you are new around here, guys. I will leave you with the podium celebrations and the points, and I will see you next time.